Hello, good evening, everybody. This is anyways the head convener of this season, and our today's season is very much exciting because we have Yajas among us. In our today's session, we will discuss everything related with Microsoft Engage, and in the last, we will answer your doubts at the end of this session. So let's start the session. I think you all are familiar with Yajas Sardana, but I will request Yajas, will you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm Yajas Sardana. I'm a full stack developer. I'm a product enthusiast. I am someone who cleared Microsoft Engage last year during the end of my second year. Abhi I am in my third year. Apart from that, I try to create content on LinkedIn. So if you are interested in tech, product, and DSA related content, so you can follow me there. Apart from that, one thing I want you all to do is that engage say related. I know that a lot of people have a lot of queries, so it would be better if most of your friends are able to join in live. So if it's possible, share this link with your friends. Let people know that we are live right now, so that if they have any doubts, they can ask it live in the chat box itself. We'll try to cover everything related to Microsoft Engage today. uh, till then, can you people let me know in the chat, like, which places are you from, which language are you comfortable in? Should I use English or Hindi, or should I use both?
यहाँ काफी सारे फैंस हैं तुम्हारे. Okay, so will you please elaborate about application process in brief?
Sure. So Microsoft Engage ka I'll just go through all the steps involved in Microsoft Engage. So Microsoft Engage, I'll just fix it in a bit. Ab theek hai? Yeah, it's fine now. Yeah, so Microsoft Engage, you can think of it like a month-long hackathon, which is organized by Microsoft. This will be the third year for Microsoft Engage, but it's a large scale pay. It's happening for the second time, I think. Ours was the first time when it happened on a very large scale. So I'll take you through the steps involved. First is the application. So application process. So what happens is that ultimately the intent of Engage is getting an internship with Microsoft, right? So the entire process can be thought of like an application process for an internship, but only for Engage, the application process is fairly simple. What you have to do is that you have to just head on to the Engage website, go to the register page, and wahan pe there's this registration guide given. You can just download the guide, follow the steps, and apply. The applications for Engage have already ended, as most of you might know, and a lot of you might have already gotten the result emails or the rejection selection emails. So that part is sorted. So right now I don't think there's any point in discussing resume vagara, because you have already submitted your resume and that part is done. Now coming to the second part of the application process. Now this part is where an online test happens. So online test जो होता है engage में, it's basically a 30 minute, हमारे time पे 45 minutes का हुआ था, this time it's going to be a 30-minute online test. In this online test, मैं ना what I'll do is that I'll present my screen. मैं दिखाई देता हूँ. Yeah, I'll also cover how to prepare for the test. One request I have for all of you is that just let your friends know that you are joining the test, so that they can also join in the test. So what you have to do is that you have to let your friends know that we are doing this broadcast. Yeah. So let's just head over to the ASACR website. So this is the Engage page, right? All of you that are applying for Microsoft Engage might have already seen this page. So you can just head down. This is where the timeline for the Engage program is given. The register part, which was 11, 12, 13 April, is already done with. So you need not worry about that. will you get a selection email? Selection emails are rolled out at a later date. So you will get a selection email when you will be getting the test details. So if you have not received a rejection email, then there's a very high probability that you might be selected, because people who had to be rejected, most of them have been rejected already. So now what will happen is that there will be an exam which will happen. You can look at the timeline here. You will name of test. You'll have to appear for this test either on 22nd or on 23rd. The date will be probably mentioned. Your batch will be mentioned in the email itself. Okay. So now that that is sorted, coming, let's go to step one, which is what will happen in the test. So test is basically a DS. So whatever I'm sharing today is from my experience. Small things might change in your case, but I think most of these things will continue to be constant with our batch and your batch. So voice is breaking. Is anybody else facing the same issue? Is my voice breaking? Can anybody in the chat let me know if my voice is breaking or not? Okay. Yeah, I think it won't break now. I've just I just stopped presenting. I think it won't break now. So yeah, coming to the DSA test. So when it comes to the DSA test, it will be a 30-minute long test. The format is MCQ plus subjective. At least in our case, there were also subjective questions in this test. So you can expect a combination of both subjective as well as objective questions. Coming to objective questions, the questions that you are expecting from DSA firstly won't be very basic in nature. So don't think that तुमसे पूछेंगे कि bubble sort और insertion sort में क्या फर्क है. The questions will be of a decent level. You can be asked about balancing in priority queues. You can be asked about, let's say, how is a hash map implemented internally. uh, I think my video is lagging, but I hope the audio is fine. Oh, audio is not fine. Okay, I'll just fix it for you guys. I hope it's better now. I think it will be better. Yeah, I think now we won't be facing the lag issue. So let's continue.
Yeah.
Perfect, everybody. Perfect. Yeah. So coming to how to prepare for the online test. So firstly, thousands and more than 10,000 people generally appear for the online test. But when it comes to the like actually Microsoft Engage mentorship program, the number of people are like 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. So the main filtering, the main bottleneck is the online test. So whatever you have to do is in the online test, you have to prepare for the online test very well, and you have to when you're appearing for the online test, you have to give it your best shot, because once you have cleared the online test, then the further steps are fairly easy in nature. Now coming to the DSA part, uh, what all data structure should you focus on? Hash maps, binary search trees, sorting algorithms, binary search. These things were focused, like these things were in focus during our time. When it comes to hash maps, not just how to use hash maps, also implementation of hash maps. So you should know what are collisions in hash maps, how to handle like clashes in hash maps, what is the actual time complexity of an ordered map, what is the actual time complexity of an unordered map, time complexity of almost all data structures. You have to also read up on red black trees. Balancing of red black trees was something which was asked during our time. So you have to know what are the balancing of red black trees,
I think your voice is lagging again.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just trying to
Yeah,
do
there is a
it.
network issue in Yaja's locality. So,
I think that's because like there is a storm outside, right? So my Wi-Fi is lacking again and again.
okay, not an issue.
Yeah, I think we are
Now
fine.
now it's perfectly fine. So please carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, so coming to the DSA part, some of you are asking that will DPI and advanced topics be asked? See, generally the questions are MCQ in nature. So you can't expect that you will be asked to, let's say, code a whole DP program. That won't happen. You might be asked a few basic DP concepts. So the MCQs are generally highly concept based or output based. So a lot of you might be aware of output based questions where you're already given a program, you're given an output, and you are given an input and you have to predict the output. So how do you practice for these? Go to Geeks for Geeks and search for data structures MCQs. This is a very underrated resource that you must use, wherein there are a lot of quizzes on data structures on Geeks for Geeks. These quizzes questions on time complexities. These contain questions on outputs. These contain questions on implementations. In questions को जाके करो Geeks for Geeks पे, why is it
Oh, I think there is might be some issue from Yaja's side.
yeah.
Now it's
Yeah,
perfectly fine.
I've reduced the quality of my video. I think this will improve. ठीक है. Cool. So firstly, head to Geeks for Geeks. Do their MCQ questions for all data structures. Focus on trees, hash maps, arrays, binary search, and other sorting algorithms. That is one part. The second part that we'll talk about is the subjective questions. So I think last time what happened was that almost everyone could solve all the MCQ questions because they were fairly easy. They were not very difficult or very easy. They were medium in nature, but they could be solved. They were solvable. The main differentiator were the subjective questions. So I can recall a few subjective questions. They were around writing pseudocodes. So now in 45 minutes, when you have to solve 12 MCQ questions or 11 MCQ questions plus 3 to 4 subjective questions, that is where one important factor plays a role, that is typing speed. So one pro tip here is that work on your typing speed. If your typing speed is let's say less than 75 words per minute, you still have 10-15 minutes to 10-15 like days to go. I think the test is on 23rd, right? You have 10 days. So you can still work on your typing speed. Try to take your typing speed to 70-75 WPM and try to basically practice typing programs. So let's say if you know how to implement merge sort, still head to your IDE and try to implement merge sort. What this will do is that it will help you develop some sort of a muscle memory when it comes to writing programs. Because when it comes to the engage test, it's mostly all about time. It's all about how much you are able to solve in the limited time. And as far as let's say me and my peers go, most of us were able to solve all the questions or at least like 99% of the questions. So agar 15 questions the, so either we solved 14 of them or we solved all 15. So that's what your aim should be. That if you wish to get shortlisted, try to solve almost all the questions. If you are facing difficulties in one MCQ, skip it for now. Head to the next questions and then come back to that MCQ at the end. Go through the marking scheme For example, during our time, there was no negative marking. So that was an advantage that we could basically attempt all the questions. But if that's not the case in your time, ensure that you take a note of the marking scheme before you attempt the test. So I'll just like revise what we have understood till now. The resume part is already over. Now you have to sit for the test. Keep checking your emails to get details of the test. Make sure that you are not missing out on the test. Coming to the test, mainly prepare DSA and some OOPS. OOPS में polymorphism, all these things, encapsulation, polymorphism, abstraction, all these concepts, how are they implemented, what is inheritance, types of inheritance, you can do all these things. Apart from that, it's just basic DSA. Basic DSA does not mean that you don't do non-linear DSA. Basic DSA means कि तुम्हें advanced questions नहीं करने हैं चीज़ों के, because generally ऐसे कोई lead code hard नहीं पूछेगा. What is asked is internal implementation. What is asked are output questions, which can be prepared for using Geeks for Geeks. Okay, so that is done. And now coming to pseudo, how do you write pseudo code? Firstly, when you study anything on Geeks for Geeks, so before the actual code, a pseudo code is already mentioned. So you need not worry about like accessing pseudocodes. What I suggest is that whatever famous algorithms are out there, for example, merge sort, binary search, insertion sort, bubble sort, ju- uh, what quick sort, all these famous algorithms के लिए the pseudocodes are already present on Geeks for Geeks. So you can head over to Geeks for Geeks. You can head over to Hacker Earth. You can look at how pseudocode is written. But see, ultimately, there is no format for a pseudocode. There are many options. There are many ways in which you can write pseudocode. So it's not like you need to stick to one language or one format. As long as you're being able to convey your points, you are more than okay. I'll just share my experience. So during my time, one pseudocode that I had to write was for merge sort. So what I did was that first I wrote the pseudocode. Only the pseudocode was asked. I wrote the pseudocode, and then I also explained the working in English, and then I explained the time complexity and derived the time complexity. So I think this is where a lot of people could like make a difference. That instead of just doing what the question is asking for, you can cover multiple bases, and this is where typing speed comes in. So, for example, another question that a lot of people got was, how will you explain recursion to your grandmother? And to solve this question, some people just wrote two one-line answers, two-line answers, whereas some people wrote multiple paragraphs, gave multiple options. For example, one answer to this question could be that let's say you go to a movie theater with your grandmother, and now you want to know the seat number of your grandfather who is sitting in rows which are very ahead, very further from you. So you one option is you directly walk to your grandfather and ask about his seat number, but the other option is that you just ask the person who's sitting in the row in front of you about the seat number of your grandfather, and then that person asks the person sitting in front of him for the number, and this keeps on going on until the grandfather is found. So in this manner, what happens is that um, instead of you having to iteratively go through all the rows, you can just do a single task which is asking the person in front of you. And that's how recursion works, where you do a single job and then you let the function take care of the rest of the jobs, and it keeps doing it recursively. So ऐसे करके you can think of multiple ways of explaining recursion to your grandmother. So that was one question which was asked last time. So now that we are clear with the online test part of it, once the online test is over, in 6 to 10 days you get a reply to if you have been selected or not. If you have been selected, then you have successfully become a part of the Microsoft Engage mentorship program. So you can at least call yourself an Engage mentee. So that part is sorted. Now, what's left is that performing well in the 1 month of the Engage program, wherein you have to build a project, and then depending on if people like your project, if Microsoft people, your mentor and whosoever is reviewing your project likes it or not, there is a chance of getting an internship interview in Microsoft. So the process is fairly simple. It's a written online test with MCQs and subjective questions. Typing speed works well. You have to prepare for DSA as well. If you clear that, you get into the program. Inside the program, there are a lot of expert talks. There are a lot of sessions where you are taught different tech stacks. So you will get to hear about Azure technologies. You might get to hear about, let's say, web chatting in Azure. You might get to hear about AI ML pipeline in Azure. So all these things happen. Apart from that, you are given a mentor from Microsoft because it's a mentorship program. So you will be divided into multiple groups. This is what happened at our time. We were divided into groups of 6 to 8, and for every group, a mentor was assigned, and then you can simply ask it out to this mentor. You could sync up with this mentor, and then at the end of the program, you had to submit your project. And probably mentor feedback was also another factor that played in. And now you are judged upon your mentor feedback and the project that you have made. So at our time, the project that had to be made was basically a clone of Microsoft Teams. So you had to add your own X Factor features, but apart from that, you had to simply clone Microsoft Teams. So you had to make a full stack web chatting application. And this time, I think there are multiple tracks. You can just go to the Ace Hacker Engage website to understand the tracks. But for now, don't focus on that. As long as you're able to clear the online test, other things will sort themselves out. You'll have a lot of time. So for right now, just focus on the online test. How many people get selected? See, right, last time, if I remember correctly, there were about 12 to 1500 people. The number is not a small one, but it's also not very high. You'll have to definitely do very well in the test if you want to get in, because a lot of people can score a lot in the test. Didn't receive a rejection email for the test as of now. Does that mean I can probably give the test? Yeah, so if you have not received a rejection email till now, there is a very high chance that you won't be getting one in the near future. And most people who did not receive rejection emails got the test link. So yeah, there is a very high chance that you'll be able to give the test. Will there be an Engage program for 2023 batch? So as far as I am aware, a full-time Engage program happens around September, October. So that will happen for our batch. How can one manage DSI and NSEMs along with Engage program? See, you'll have to prioritize. So if you, let's say, if you feel that your CGPA is very low and you have to focus on NSEMs, then for now, devote more time to NSEMs and just do a lot of quizzes on GFG. So don't spend a lot of time on lead code right now because there's no point. There's just 10 days left. Instead, spend a lot of time on Geeks for Geeks. Do theoretical questions, do MCQs, do output questions, and don't do a lot of actual coding questions. Apart from that, it's about priorities. Like I think during my time, I knew that I was in a position wherein even if my NSEMs went decently, it won't really affect my CGPA a lot, because till that point of time, till semester 3, my GPA was enough to get me through the Microsoft Engage program. That's what I thought. So I did not prioritize NSEMs. Plus, I think we had COVID going on at our time, so that wasn't much of a concern. We had to give our NSEMs when Engage program was actually running. Uh, yeah. For now, are there any questions in the chat? Uh, mhm.
Just checking if there is some.
Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to the topics of online test, the main recommendation is DSA plus OOPS. If anything else is asked, then it's fairly luck based. ऐसा नहीं है that आप दो लोग अगर दो दोस्त देते हो साथ में टेस्ट, तो ऐसा हो सकता है दैट उसमें से एक बच्चे को एमएल का एक क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया और दूसरे से नहीं पूछा. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल एट आवर टाइम देयर आई थिंक देयर वर वन और टू क्वेश्चंस ऑफ एमएल एज वेल, बट वो बहुत बेसिक थे. आई थिंक वी वर आस्क्ड व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ लर्निंग एंड वी वर आस्क्ड ऑल दीस थिंग्स. Anivesh, you can mute yourself. Echo आ रहा है.
Oh. Actually, I think we have already answered this question.
Examples of subjective questions, yeah, I've already covered that. Subjective questions, वही grandmother वाला था. Other than that, see, if you know how data structures work, then you can tackle any other subjective question, so it won't be much of an issue. Cool then. I think what we have covered till right now is the entire flow of the program. Once you get into the program, then the flow will obviously be explained to you again and again by the recruiters, the recruiting team, and your mentor. Plus, you'll have your peers whom you can refer to from your own college as well. Apart from that, feel free to reach out to me as well if you have any doubts regarding Engage. You can just drop me a message on LinkedIn. or if you are in contact with me on WhatsApp, you can do that as well.
Yeah, I will also
Uh,
include Yaja's LinkedIn ID in the description, so you may check that.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Anivesh. The percentage of students that get selected for Microsoft internship out of engagementees. See, this cannot be predicted, but one thing I can tell you on an unofficial note is that if you get into the Microsoft Engage mentorship program, there is a very high chance that you will end up getting an internship at Microsoft. As long as you are interacting well with your mentor, you are making a good project, you are showing progress, you are doing the assignments, you are attending the meetings, there is a very high chance that you will get an internship at Microsoft. हो सकता है 2 इंटरव्यू देने पड़े, 3 इंटरव्यू देने पड़े या डायरेक्ट मिल जाए, that depends on your performance, but internships are definitely at stake here. Selection is college wise or nation wise? Selection is nationally. There can be like 200, 300 people who get into the program for from your college. It is okay. I know of a college where I think there were more than 100 people in the program. Perfect. I think for now, these people need not care about what happens once they enter the program. Anivesh, do you have anything else to ask? Or should I cover anything else?
I think we have already answered all of the questions. So thank you so much, Ajas, for joining this session, and thank you so much, everyone. If you have any query, you may drop in the comment section, and we will be happy to answer your query. Thank you so much, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.